Farscape was the show that a cable network tried to kill. And this is the story of how fans fought back with funeral wreaths, brassieres, and enough phone calls to shut down an entire corporate switchboard for 2 weeks straight. Farscape wasn't just another science fiction series. When it premiered on March 19, 1999, it represented the single most ambitious gamble the Sci-Fi Channel had ever made. For 7 years, this scrappy little cable network had survived on syndicated reruns of Doctor Who, The Prisoner, and Dark Shadows. Then Farscape changed everything. It became the anchor of a brand new programming concept called Sci-Fi Friday, a 4-hour block of original content designed to put the network on the map. And for a while, it worked beautifully. The show was the brainchild of Rockne S. O'Bannon, the man behind Alien Nation and Sequest DSV, and Brian Henson, son of the legendary Jim Henson. Working alongside executive producer David Kemper, they'd been developing the concept since the early 1990s under the working title Space Chase. What they built was unlike anything else on television. The Jim Henson Company brought its full creative arsenal to bear, with Jim Henson's Creature Shop creating 2 of the main characters, Rigel and Pilot, entirely as animatronic creations.
Rigel the 16th, dominator to over 600 billion people. I don't need to talk to you.
Filmed in Sydney, Australia, the aliens looked genuinely alien. The stories were bold, strange, and emotionally complex. At the center of it all was Ben Browder as John Crichton, an American astronaut flung to the far side of the universe. He was the only American in the core cast, appearing in all 88 episodes. The show won 3 Saturn Awards for Best Syndicated/Cable Television Series between 2000 and 2002. Browder himself took home a Saturn for Best TV Actor, while Claudia Black, Virginia Hay, Anthony Simcoe, and Gigi Edgley all received nominations. TV Guide would later name it the #4 cult show of all time, behind only Star Trek, The X-Files, and Buffy. This was a show that mattered. But it was also expensive. Reports on the per-episode cost vary wildly. The Chicago Tribune put it above $1 million per episode. Juliet Blake, president of Jim Henson Television, cited a figure of around $1.5 million, noting that was actually $500,000 less per hour than what Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Enterprise cost over on UPN. Other sources placed it closer to $2 million per episode. Whatever the exact number, a full season was costing upwards of $24 million. For a humble genre network barely out of the 90s, that was a fortune. Then the dominoes started falling. In February 2000, the Henson family sold the Jim Henson Company to a German media conglomerate called EMTV and Merchandising AG for $680 million. It seemed like a good deal at the time. But by late 2000, EMTV's stock had collapsed, plummeting roughly 90%. The company was in freefall. By spring of 2001, they'd put the Henson Company up for sale, and suddenly the financial foundation underneath Farscape was crumbling. Here's where it gets murky. According to Rockne O'Bannon, the Sci-Fi Channel, owned by Vivendi Universal at the time, floated the idea of cancellation almost as a negotiating tactic, testing whether there was wiggle room on the licensing fee for a 5th season. But EMTV, desperate to cut costs, leapt on that opening. They didn't want to deficit finance another season of an expensive show. Meanwhile, Stargate SG-1, which Sci-Fi had recently acquired from Showtime, was pulling a 1.7 rating compared to Farscape's 1.2. Observant viewers noted that the network had also moved Farscape to a later 10 p.m. time slot, which likely contributed to the ratings dip. In September 2002, with Season 4 still in production, the Sci-Fi Channel made it official. Farscape was canceled. No 5th season. The network released a statement that read, in part, "There are no bigger fans of Farscape than we have here at Sci-Fi Channel." The fans disagreed. What happened next was extraordinary. Within days, on September 12, 2002, fans were picketing outside Sci-Fi Channel headquarters in New York. But that was just the opening salvo. As Ben Browder later recalled, they shut down the phone system at the network for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, the Sci-Fi Channel could not get a phone call in or out because they were being inundated with calls. Fans sent so many funeral wreaths and flowers that they completely filled up the lobby of the building. They sent packages of crackers to network executives, a nod to a beloved episode called Crackers Don't Matter. And then there was Farscape. Women mailed their bras to corporate headquarters. According to Browder, they had brassieres stacked up in a room. A fan-created stylized wanted Farscape Season 5 posters for each character, and they became the visual identity of the entire campaign. On February 3, 2003, fans designed and paid for a cover advertisement in Variety. They later ran another ad in the Sydney Daily Telegraph. Cartoonist Bill Amend devoted his nationally syndicated Foxtrot comic strip to the cancellation. He later admitted, "I had no idea that so many people owned computers. I shudder to think what the mailboxes at the Sci-Fi Channel must be like these days." Stories like this one, where the fan base refuses to accept a quiet ending, are exactly why this channel exists. If you're new here, When TV Was is where we dig into the shows that shaped us. Subscribe if that sounds like your kind of thing. If you've been with us, thank you. TV Guide critic Matt Roush wrote that in his opinion, the premature cancellation of Farscape would be looked upon by future generations the same way science fiction fans look upon NBC's cancellation of the original Star Trek in 1969. That's not a small comparison. And the writers? When they learned of the cancellation midway through filming Season 4, they faced a choice. Rewrite the finale to wrap things up, or air it as planned. They chose defiance. They kept the episode exactly as written and ended the entire series on the words, "To be continued." It was a dare and a promise. Behind the scenes, the fan campaign had one critical practical effect. Early plans to scrap the sets were postponed, and the sets were put into storage, pending a possible future revival. That decision would prove essential. In May 2003, the Henson family bought their company back from the wreckage of EMTV for $89 million, a fraction of the $680 million they'd sold it for just 3 years earlier. By the time the deal closed in August, the price had dropped even further to $84 million. With the Hensons back in control, conversations about finishing Farscape's story could finally happen in earnest. By the end of 2003, a miniseries was officially greenlit. Production began in December in Australia, and because this was classified as a miniseries rather than a regular series, Brian Henson could step back into the director's chair himself to close out the story. Farscape, The Peacekeeper Wars, aired on October 17th and 18th, 2004. It drew 1.96 million viewers and made the Sci-Fi Channel the #1 non-sports cable network in the key demographics for that time period. It gave the fans what they needed: resolution for John and Erin's story, a proper ending. As Browder put it simply, "All I know is that you don't want to piss off a fan base." And then he added, "Gotta appreciate the creativity of that fan base." The fan campaign to get the miniseries was beyond epic levels. The story isn't over, by the way. A Farscape spin-off film is currently in development, with original writer Justin Monjo crafting a screenplay and Brian Henson set to direct. The story reportedly follows John and Erin's son, now 19, heading into space with his parents. O'Bannon has confirmed it, calling it the worst-kept secret, adding that they're far from production, but the work has begun. In his words, "We're not done with Farscape." 25 years after an astronaut named Crichton fell through a wormhole, the show that a network tried to kill is still alive, because the fans wouldn't let it die. This one meant a lot to research. Farscape is the kind of show that rewards everyone who stayed with it, and the people who fought for it deserve to have their story told properly. Thank you for watching, and for caring about the same things we do.